Eagle 95.1, WUPN, Paradise, Sault Ste. Marie.
It's time for The Game. Eagle 95.1 proudly brings you The Game, the Twin Sault's only regional and national sports show. For the next hour, we'll get an in-depth look at sports in the Eastern Upper Peninsula and Algoma region and hear from coaches and players involved in The Game. Now, let's join Scott Nason at the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street in downtown Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, for tonight's broadcast of The Game on Eagle 95.1.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game!
Glorious! No, I won't give in till I'm victorious. And I will defend, Glorious! No, I won't give in till I'm victorious. And I will defend, and I'll do what I must. No, I won't give in, oh so glorious. Until the end,
Greetings and salutations and welcome to The Game on Eagle 95.1. Scott Nason, broadcasting from downtown Sault, Michigan, here in the studios of Eagle 95.1 on this Monday night, April 9th, 2018. The Game, where you hear local, regional, and national sports, the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. You can find us on Eagle 95.1, WUPN, here in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, or online at radioeaglesioux.com. You can also find us on our webpage, thegamesportshow.com, or our podcast page, thegamesportshow.podbean.com. We'll be joined later on by Butch Davis from the Telegram News and Butch on Sports, and we'll be hoping to be joined by E.J. Russell on the Team Wireless hot seat during our roundtable discussion. Well, we start with heavy hearts here on The Game, as over the weekend a tragedy happened in the province of Saskatchewan. A semi-trailer slammed into a bus carrying a junior hockey team in Western Canada, killing 15 people and injuring 14, as this crash sent shockwaves through the athlete's small hometown of Humboldt, Saskatchewan. The hockey team was the Humboldt Broncos, who were on their way to a playoff game Friday night. And, well, the entire hockey world, the country of Canada, and the entire world in general mourns the loss of those individuals, as the bus had 29 passengers, including the driver, when it crashed at about 5 p.m. on Highway 35 on Friday. Among the dead are Broncos head coach Darcy Hagen, team captain Logan Shantz, and radio announcer Tyler Bieber. Canadian police said the truck driver was initially detained, but has since been released and provided with mental health assistance. As well, we're going to talk more about some of the local teams expressing their condolences, and this is just a story that really hits home. Anybody that has kids, obviously, can't imagine what those families are going through right now, losing loved ones, losing their son, and it's devastating anytime you see it on the news, and it's been all over the news, as it should be, because it's a national tragedy, and got to give a lot of kudos to the country of Canada and their leader, Justin Trudeau, along with many, many individuals, organizations that have all expressed condolences at this time. I know they have raised, I believe, about $4 million to help that organization, help that town, help that family, and local teams have also joined in and entering their condolences. Northern Ontario Junior Hockey League put out a statement on behalf of the Northern Ontario Junior Hockey League, our member clubs, team staffs, players, families, billet families, and fans. We extend our deepest and heartfelt sympathies to the Humboldt Broncos, the town of Humboldt, and all those associated with this devastating loss. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Humboldt Broncos and the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, their families and friends, in the entire Humboldt community during this most unimaginable and difficult time. This according to NOJHL Commissioner Robert Mazuka. The NOJHL is offering its full and undivided support and attention to any of those within the hockey family needing assistance in dealing with this horrific event. And during last night's Sioux Thunderbirds and Rayside Balfour Game 5, they all united at center ice, arm in arm, paying homage to the Humboldt Broncos, its family members, fans, first responders who are all providing counseling and support during this time of need. And, being around hockey teams, this is the same level that the Sioux Eagles, the Sioux Thunderbirds play, the same ages that the Sioux Greyhounds are. And hockey is very unique. It gets that sense of family. You don't have these other sports where players, individuals, as young as 14, 15, leave their families, go and live with other families. I was talking to a billet mom here just this morning about this event and just how hard that is for families. They entrust a lot of support and trust into these billet families, and not only are parents losing their loved ones, but also billet families. And gentleman in Humboldt was talking about how he had 3 people that he knew, billet family, of his children, I should say, billet children, if you will, all lost their lives in this horrible tragedy. And the other thing I wanted to mention on this is the bus drivers that are insured the safety of these individuals. I mean, driving around here, how hard it is to drive a car. Imagine riding a bus or driving a bus, and we're talking northern Michigan and northern Ontario, which has really bad weather. Saskatchewan has some bad weather as well. So just a very sad situation. And again, our thoughts and prayers here on the game are with the families of the individuals who lost their lives in this tragedy. We're going to talk more about this with Butch and EJ during the roundtable. We're going to talk about the 15 individuals that lost their lives in this tragic event. Kind of hard to talk about the games, but we will, starting with the Sioux Thunderbirds and Rayside Balfour, as they are in action tonight. As a matter of fact, they'll start at the John Rhodes a little bit later tonight in Game 6 of their Northern Ontario Junior Hockey League Western Conference, Western Division Final. Rayside won Game 3 this past Wednesday by the score of 4-3. That one played at the John Rhodes Community Center, that giving Rayside a 2-1 series lead, and the Thunderbirds would tie the series at 2 games apiece last Thursday as they routed the Rayside Balfour Canadians by the score of 8-2. Tyler Malpass had a pair of goals for the T-Birds. Solo tallies from Lucas Terrio, Braden Robbins, Nick Smith, Caden McDonald, while Robert Calisti and Stephen Bellini each had 4 assists for the Sioux Thunderbirds. So Game 5 was last night. That one played in Chelmsford, and it was the Rayside Balfour Canadians winning by the score of 4-1 to go up 3-2 in their best-of-7 series, with Game 6 again tonight at the John Rhodes Community Center in Sioux, Ontario. The Thunderbirds now are up against it, as they're going to have to win tonight to extend it and go to a Game 7. As I mentioned earlier, prior to the game, a moving pregame ceremony was held to honor and recognize the Humboldt Broncos organization, the town of Humboldt, and the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, and the first responders, all of those affected by Friday's horrible tragedy, as the Canadians, the Thunderbirds, and on-ice officials all lined up side by side across the center ice red line to pay homage to their comrades. Spencer Van Team scored the only goal for the T-Birds. And so Game 6 tonight at the John Rhodes Community Center, and the winner of this series will take on the Cochrane Crunch in the NLJHL Finals, as Cochrane completed their 5-game series win over Timmins. So Rayside and the Thunderbirds going on tonight at the John Rhodes Community Center. Also going on tonight, Game 3 of the OHL's Western Conference semifinal between the Sioux Greyhounds and the Owen Sound Attack. And it's 1-1 after 2 games, as the Owen Sound Attack won Game 1 on Thursday night at the SR Center by the score of 4-1. Now, this is an Owen Sound team that knocked the Greyhounds out of last year's playoff, as they outshot the Greyhounds by 38-29 mark. Boris Kachuk scored the only goal for the Hounds. And so the Hounds down 1-0, needing a win on Friday night. Boy, it was a struggle. But Tim Gettinger's goal just a minute into overtime lifted the Sioux Greyhounds to a 5-4 win in Game 2 of their OHL Western Conference semifinal in front of over 4,800 fans Friday night at the SR Center. Hayden Verbeek had a pair of goals for the Hounds, while Taylor Radish and Morgan Frost also scored. So Game 3 tonight at Owen Sound. Game 4 will be Wednesday in Owen Sound. And another games on Friday. Kitchener took a 1-0 lead in their best-of-7 Western Conference semifinal against Sarnia with a 4-2 win, while the Barrie Colts won their Game 1 in the East over Kingston by the score of 4-1. Hamilton won their first game against Niagara. The Ice Dogs in the Eastern semifinal. They also won Game 2 on Saturday by the score of 3-2 in overtime. And there were a couple games played last night in the OHL as the Sarnia Sting and Kingston Frontenacs rebounded with Sunday victories. Both games in Kingston and Kitchener featured pregame ceremonies in remembrance of the 15 members of the Humboldt Broncos Hockey Club who tragically lost their lives outside of Tisdale, Saskatchewan on Friday. And the Ontario Hockey League community's thoughts and prayers are with the families, friends, teammates, and fans of the Broncos and the entire Humboldt community during this most difficult time. Sarnia topped Kitchener 3-2 in overtime on Sunday to even up their Western Conference semifinal at 1 game apiece. Game 3 will be in Sarnia on Tuesday night, and Kingston topped Barrie by the score of 4-2 on Sunday, as Barrie still trails their Eastern Conference semifinal 2-1 with Game 4 set for Barrie on Tuesday. In college hockey over the weekend, how about the Minnesota Duluth squad winning their second national championship since 2011, as this was a team that wasn't even expected to make the NCAA tournament. As a matter of fact, they literally needed a perfect storm to get in. If you remember, there were a lot of conference tournament upsets in college hockey, including Michigan Tech knocking out Northern Michigan. Well, Minnesota Duluth squeaked into the NCAA tournament and then celebrated like crazy when it was over, as Carson Coleman had a goal and an assist as the Bulldogs beat Jeff Jackson and Notre Dame by the score of 2-1 on Saturday night in St. Paul to win the team's second NCAA hockey championship. And so, congratulations to the Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs. Kind of a team up here. They are at the other end of the peninsula as far as Lake Superior. So, good job, Bulldogs. And another loss for Jeff Jackson. Matter of fact, Jeff Jackson has not won an NCAA hockey title since 1994, way back then at Minneapolis St. Paul, as I might add, as they top BU, the Lakers rather, by the score of 9-1. Well, if you look outside, you see sunshine here tonight, but we still have lots of snow on the ground, and so spring sports in the Eastern Upper Peninsula not exactly going well as far as teams getting outside. I was scheduled to have a couple umpiring gigs here this week. Obviously, those games are canceled. If you look at the weather looking ahead, it's not looking any better. As a matter of fact, as I check the extended forecast here in Sault Ste. Marie, they're calling for snow Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and into Sunday. So we may not see any local baseball or softball games for quite some time around these parts. We're just going to have to hope Mother Nature starts to cooperate, as Old Man Winter is hanging on and hanging on hard. Laker tennis over the weekend was at home. They split, losing to Davenport on Saturday by the score of 6-3. And then on Sunday, the Lakers defeated Purdue Northwest by an 8-1 count. Their record 7-7 on the year. And they're going to be in action on the road this weekend, looking to solidify a playoff spot. They'll visit Tiffin University and Wayne State. With the win over Tiffin, the Lakers would clinch a spot in the conference tournament. Laker track on the road, they brought back 6 top 10 finishes at the Spartan Invitational. Friday and Saturday down in East Lansing, the Lakers finished the weekend with 6 top 10 finishes, including 2 second-place finishes from freshman Ashley Mullings in the women's long jump and David Mitter on the 5,000-meter. Kai Hymanen placed second in the javelin, Riley Collins 10th in the high jump, while Mackenzie Richardson also collected a 10th place finish in the 5,000-meter. Lake State will return to action next week on the track as they will travel to St. Norbert College for a one-day meet. And that is your local sports roundup. Again, not a lot of local sports going on due to the weather and, well, just things not being ready to be played outside. I'm hoping that teams will be able to get on the baseball fields right now. It's looking like maybe, and it's a big maybe, the last week of April. That's assuming we don't get any more snow, because if you know, not only do you need the snow to come off the field, but then you need the ground below it to start to unfreeze, and we haven't had a whole lot of thawing weather, and usually you can depend on games going on in the northern lower peninsula as far as baseball and softball. Many local teams schedule games down there, but those have been wiped out because they've gotten a lot of snow down in the lower peninsula as well. And if you've watched the Tiger games over the past week or so, they've had a lot of snow in those games. Matter of fact, the Masters didn't have any snow in Augusta, but temperatures were only in the 50s. They're watching that one, so the cold snap has not snapped, or hasn't broken, I should say. So come on, Mother Nature, give us a break. We need some warm weather, and it's spring after all. It's been spring for 3 weeks. Give us a break, okay? Coming up, we're going to hear from Butch Davis from the Telegram News and Butch on Sports. We got a lot to talk about with Butch. We're going to talk about the Humboldt tragedy, of course, that's really overshadowing everything this weekend and into this week. As it's such a tough situation. I mean, it's hard to watch the footage on the news without a dry eye. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Wrestlemania, which happened last night in New Orleans. We're going to talk about the Masters, and we're going to talk about the Detroit sports scene with Butch. The Tigers, good weekend this weekend, a 3-game sweep over Chicago. The Detroit Red Wings, they won't be in the playoffs coming up here on Wednesday. Their season has ended. Detroit Pistons season can't end fast enough. We'll talk about all those subjects and more with Butch Davis from the Telegram News and Butch on Sports here on The Game on Eagle 95.1.
Get wicked at the Wicked Sister. You'll find the best tasting food for the whole family. Start off with some appetizers like the crab dip, served with warm non-bread strips and soft pretzel bites, or their antibiotic and hormone-free boneless chicken wings with 5 choices of sauces. Entrees include the barbecue pulled pork sandwich, the #1 selling drunken cow burger, or Philly cheesesteaks, and they're on special all day Thursdays. The Wicked Sister also offers a gluten-free menu and catering. Bring the whole family. The Wicked Sister, downtown Ashman Street, open 7 days a week.
Thank you for tuning in to The Game. Heard Monday nights from the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street on Eagle 95.1. Also online at radioeaglesioux.com and the podcast page, The Game Sports Show. .podbean.com. I hope you're enjoying the broadcast. Now, if you want to hear more of the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national talk show, I encourage you to visit our website at thegamesportshow.com, and you can tune into a pair of broadcasts of the Game Sports Show from Sault, Ontario. Our co-host here on The Game, Mr. Electric Avenue Dave McKegg, broadcasts the show on Wednesday night from Sports Center Bar and Grill in Sault, Ontario, along with his regular contributors, Jamie Antonello, Justin Heichel, and Dane Hantro. They focus on football with their In the Pocket segment, talking about the NFL, along with basketball and the NBA, and other sports, including tennis, golf, soccer, and the WWE. If you like hockey, Thursday nights are for you, as the Game Sports Show is broadcasting from Boston Pizza in Sault, Ontario, with Dave McKegg, along with his regular contributors, Justin Heichel and Dane Hantro. Now, this show focuses on hockey in the wintertime and baseball in the summer, and will include guests and interviews from local and national figures. Once again, you can hear 3 versions of the game at our website, thegamesportshow.com, or at the podcast page, thegamesportshow.podbean.com. Also on the podcast page, you will find selected audio broadcasts of Sioux Eagles home games, Brimley Bay's basketball, and Sioux High Blue Devil hockey, along with game contributor Butch Davis and his broadcasts of Butch on Sports. You can also find us on YouTube. Look for the Scott Nason channel. Thank you for listening, and keep it locked here to The Game for all your local, regional, and national sports talk that you just can't get enough of. Welcome back to the game on Eagle 95.1. Scott Nason broadcasting from Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan on this chilly but clear Monday evening in Sault Ste. Marie. We'll be joined later on during the roundtable by E.J. Russell on the Team Wireless hot seat, but we're joined right now by our weekly contributor and co-host Butch Davis. You can find him on our podcast page, thegamesportshow.podbean.com. You can find his radio show Butch on Sports, where he examines the Metro Detroit sports scene. You can also find him on the Telegram News and on Facebook and right here, right now. Butch Davis, how you doing tonight, my friend?
Well, waiting for the place to get warmed up here. We're talking about the city of Detroit and surrounding areas where I live at here. I'm ready for some warm weather.
We definitely are up here as well, Butch. Well, let's start with, talking about the Detroit sports scene. Let's talk about a hot baseball team playing in very cold weather. The Detroit Tigers, who are currently playing right now against the Cleveland Indians. No score early in that one. But, Butch, I got to say, a surprise sweep against the Chicago White Sox on the road. The Tigers now 4-4 on the season, as yesterday they win a 1-0 game at Chicago, as it was Mike Fears earning the win along with 4 relievers on a 3-hitter. The teams combined for 5 hits, all singles, and the Tigers scored their only run on a pass ball. And, Butch, they are doing, in my opinion, a lot of the things that you said they should be doing over the past few years, at least since you and I have known. They're playing small ball. They're aggressive. We're seeing a lot of youngsters. They don't give up. I got to say, it's been a pleasant surprise to the Detroit Tigers. Your thoughts?
Yeah, you got some players who want to be here and want to play some ball and know that they can use the whole ballpark in doing some things that you do in baseball as a little kid. I mean, sacrifice a runner by hitting or bunting or doing some things that ordinarily was not done here in the city of Detroit for so many years because of this power structure that many thought that we had because of the ballpark that we have and have made, where we can shoot the gaps and just really go crazy. Our pitching can be half rear end here, but again, our offense is almighty, and it hasn't been that way in the past, but this year is something special there. And I spoke of Mike Fears, for example, and several weeks ago, and I thought it was a huge mistake that Detroit did not allow this guy to pitch last year here right after the World Series, which, by the way, his school won, okay? But he's here now, and he pitched magnificently. Regardless of what people thought of him in spring training, he gave a magnificent performance, and it ought to be not audit, but applauded here. You know, I just put it that way. Cabrera is knocking in runs, so he did yesterday with the sacrifice fly. These things are working in the area where, again, the players' attitudes are not there just taking in a paycheck or making excuses. They're doing the very best they can, and the odds are not in their favor when you play in the average degrees of 36.5 degrees every time you walk on the field, and it's not so pleasant in Cleveland tonight either. By golly, they're getting wet by wind, but again, it's magnificent. 4-4, I can accept from this team.
Yeah, Butch, and one of the things I like Ron Gardenhire said today, and I like this, and it kind of goes to what you were saying and what you have been saying. We've both been saying over the past couple years here on the show is, he acknowledged he's going to play a lot of players during this series against Cleveland, and I like what he said here. He's going to put guys in situations to succeed. And that's really all you can ask for, especially with the team right now. And I don't think anybody's going to have the Tigers penciled in for the playoffs or to make a big jump this year. But everybody knows this is a rebuilding year, and you got a lot of young guys playing. But we've said it, you've said it specifically. You're putting guys in the lineup to succeed, and I really think that Gardenhire is the right guy in this situation to get those players to maybe bump it to the next level.
No, succeeding means you're winning some games as well there. And when you don't win games, you find out what you did right, what you did wrong, and how you went through the process of gaining of ground against the other team, and the Tigers have done very well this year. Only maybe one or two games this spring that it didn't look that way, but every game they have played so far this year, when it counted, okay, let me make that very clear. When it counted, the Tigers have gave their all in making the game very close, very hospitable, where people can watch it, enjoy it, and see the growth of these players go out there on the field and do their all.
The Tigers have 4 games in Cleveland this week before returning home to take on the New York Yankees over the weekend. Butch, always fun when the Yankees come into town. Are you going to take in any of those games?
I will be taking in some of them Yankee games. You better believe it, buddy.
Fantastic. We look forward to hearing about that next week for a first-hand account. Let's move on, Butch, as well. The NHL playoffs will be starting on Wednesday. We'll hopefully talk about that maybe in our roundtable section. But the Detroit Red Wings, we know, will not be in the playoffs. Their season ended with, well, another 1-goal loss in overtime against the New York Islanders by the score of 4-3. So the Red Wings end their season out of the playoffs for the second straight year. The record of 30, 39, and 13. And news this week that General Manager and Vice President Ken Holland has signed a new 2-year deal to stay in Detroit. So, Butch, well, there's going to be a busy offseason for the Detroit Red Wings. Obviously, it's another team with a big youth movement. A lot of draft picks, a lot of guys hopefully that they can re-sign. Give us your season-ending prognostication for the Detroit Red Wings as far as what they may do during the offseason and the future.
Well, we got what we thought we were going to get here in the season there. I think everyone called it, including yourself, that, we wasn't going to get that high expectation of playoffs at a point in time. When the team was doing pretty well, and I think that was in the early part of the season, I said, yes, well, maybe something is a little different about this particular. But again, as the season went on, the team floundered, and then that's when they started bringing up the younger players like the Bertuzzis and the Wachowskis, and they showed that they belong here. They showed that they wanted to be here. I think Detroit has done this a little effort in giving Ken Holland a couple more years on this as a contract. I'm expecting tomorrow when the players come in to take their final picture and to clean out their lockers that they're going to announce that Jeff Blashill will be honored to do his final year of his contract there, at least, okay? At the very least, he's going to be able to do that and show the fans that, yes, we can take these young kids and get out here and put some players out there. They're expecting in this draft to get a top-notch player to excellently bring up immediately, okay? If not, stay in Grand Rapids a short period of time, but to be able to bring up with the parent team. We're going to probably see some changes with some veterans. It's not been announced yet that Hendrik Zetterberg is going to retire, okay? That has been a question that's been laying on there. I'm giving 10-1 to a dozen of donuts that Cromwell's going to retire, or he's going to leave the team there. But it's got to be some room for younger players or more exclusive young players to come in here and do their all for the Red Wings if they're going to get better here, okay? We know we have a huge defensive problem, and that's going to help a goaltender per se, because when the goaltender makes the initial stop on the puck, but yet still you have no one to help them get the puck out of the zone or take on a man where they can just walk in scot-free and shoot a puck and get a goal. That is a main concern, and I think the team knows what's going on with that there. They're going to have to improve that. Once they improve that, I think right now the offense will take care of itself.
Jeff Blashill today, Butch, named once again head coach to the U.S. men's national team, the 2018 version, who will take part in that World Championship in Denmark starting in May. And, another good honor for Jeff Blashill. And, at the end of his contract, obviously he has deep ties here to Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. He can do good things over in Denmark, guided them to a pretty good record last year.
Mm-hmm. Deep ties in Detroit, deep ties in Sault Ste. Marie, deep ties in Michigan, period. This is a guy who wants to be successful with the Red Wings and stay here a very long time. he's been very sincere about how this team is going there. He's not made any kind of excuse on where they should be or what they can be. However, again, when you bring in the caliber of players the Red Wings has brought in the past, the word I want to use is loyalty, okay? The Red Wings are very loyal to their veteran players who have done so much for them in the past, where basically they don't want to throw them out in the street. Well, again, the ones they did let go went someplace where right now they're a first place team and they're going to be battling the Kings in the playoffs, and so much so be said. But again, I think people this summer is going to be reigning expectation for the Red Wings to be a better team, a playoff team. They're not going to settle for anything less. I don't see an extension for Jeff Blasio here in Detroit. Congratulations to him in going to Denmark to deal with the U.S. team. But again, charity begins at home first, and that's what the Red Wings are going to be doing when it comes down to this particular team and who he feels the 25 or 26 guys to bring in some playoff action in the city of Detroit.
Butch Davis joining us on the game on this Monday night. Now, next week, due to my umping schedule, we were scheduled to have next week's show on Tuesday. However, with the weather forecasts as they are, there's a very high likelihood that my game will be canceled. So, Butch, if we're not here on Tuesday of next week, you and I, and hopefully Dave, will do the show from the Wicked Sister Monday. Sound good?
It sounds good to me here.
Absolutely. Let's keep it going with the Detroit sports scene, Butch. And, boy, there was lots on the telly yesterday. I did not watch the Detroit Pistons game, thankfully, as they were in Memphis, gave up 130 points to one of the worst teams in the league, the Memphis Grizzlies. They lose 130 to 117 despite making a franchise record 23 three-pointers. The Pistons are in action here, starting here in a few minutes at the Little Caesars Arena, taking on the Toronto Raptors. Butch, kind of just playing out the string for the Detroit Pistons. They're not going to make the playoffs, and I guess the big question is, what do they do in the offseason? But we're not there yet. Your thoughts on the Pistons?
Well, they're not going to play Andre Drummond tonight. They're not going to play a whole heck of a lot of players. The players that you're going to see are the players mainly you probably saw in the summer league here. Henry Ellison is going to get a whole heck of a lot of time, and so is Luke Kennard there. I think there are some players who are going to try to rally to get Stan Van Gundy back here in Detroit for the next season. Is that the wisest thing that you can do there? No. The main guys that this man said that would bring the Pistons to some playoff grounds, only played 4 games together. We're not going to include so much Blake Griffin, okay, because he came in late on the situation, but the gentleman I'm talking about is Reggie Jackson, okay?
Yeah.
And it's got to be some kind of decision on finding out where this guy stands and giving the Pistons some ump here. And I read some stats here that really is ridiculous. 2014, Van Gundy brought in Jody Meeks, gave him $18 million for 3 years.
Wow.
DJ Augustine, he brought him on in there 2 years. He eventually got traded to get Reggie Jackson here, okay? Caron Butler, 2 years, $9 million. He was gone like a doggone shoe fly here. Then here's Reggie Jackson, $80 million for 5 years. A lot of money being done. Wait, there's more. Aaron Bain, who really was I think was a bonus to the Pistons, okay? He's gone to Boston and doing great things with that particular team there. And only signed a 1-year deal with the Celtics, so it's a great possibility he's going to be on the block at the end of the season. John Lure, the pimp of the year, I say here. 4 years, $41 million, has not played a whip, at least this year for the Detroit Pistons at all. That's ridiculous there. Overpaid. I don't know if he's undernourished. He's eating well, but, there's the deal. 3 years, $18 million for Ish Smith. I can say he's lived up to that money some of the time, not all of the time, okay? Bobick, okay, $21 million. Of course, he's gone. Andre Drummond, $127 million, okay? Has he given his all? He has rebounded for this team. He has done as well. we need someone who can get this guy motivated to do some of the things that he could did in college there, and they haven't reached that pedestal yet. Langston Galloway, 3 years, $21 million. He showed some signs very early, but boy, oh boy, he's fallen down to a no, not one. A bum, I say. Reggie Bullock, 2 years, $5 million. Now, that was a deal, okay? That's a great deal with that. But has Reggie Bullock showed lately here that he's worthy? Oh, boy. I mean, they would say give him 50 cents and a bowl of greens here and let him go. You know, but, hey, those are the things that people are looking at Stan Van Gundy right now is the amount of money he has spent. We're one of the highest paying teams in the NBA and has absolutely nothing to show for it. And again, he has been very, very nice when it comes down to talking about the team and what they should be doing and yada, yada, yada. But I say when all that comes down to you influence your team to do whatever they should be doing in order to get it done, he hasn't done it. Luke Kennard, I've spoken to him, a very talented young man. If he's given the time and the patience and not so much punished by when he has a bad game, being sit down for 5 and 6, 7 games, allow him to get on out there, tell him what he's done wrong, and let him get back out there again and battle it out. Henry Ellison is another player that basically has an ability to shoot a ball from a long ways, okay, as big as he is and as tall he is. Now, can he battle with some of those great rebounders in the NBA? No. But the guy can shoot so well, and you have not given him an opportunity worth a doggone. These are the things that people are talking about right now there. With Stan Van Gundy would be, again, I would say, if they're going to make a decision, allow this guy to do his 5th year as a president and a general manager. They need to invest in a coach that can influence these players to do a better job. And they cannot do a better job, get rid of them some way, shape, form, or fashion. Maybe there's a future flipping burgers for them. I don't know. But I tell you right now, you got to get a coach that can motivate these guys to get in there and do whatever they may be to do some winning. And by all means, and this goes for Reggie Jackson especially, use that off season instead of lollygagging around, getting yourself in shape so when you walk in camp, you're ready to go. It is a shame that some of these players pimp their off season, wait till they get in training camp to report all these injuries and whatnot, and give the fans absolutely nothing.
Butch Davis with some research and some solid comment on that situation. Butch, let's move it on as far as, well, we've talked about it earlier on this show. The local sports scene, at least outdoor scene, is non-existent as high school baseball and softball scheduled to start this week as far as games up here not happening. Track and field not happening. I was talking to one of the Sioux High coaches. He said after the snow is off the field, they probably need about 2 weeks or more. And so at this point, you're looking at early May, maybe, in the Eastern Upper Peninsula to get some games in. Butch, I know you guys have had the cold, maybe not the snow. Has the spring sports season began in your area as far as high school baseball, softball, track and field?
You got to be kidding me.
No, I figured I'd ask.
It's nice that you dream, huh? But no, it hasn't. You know, I've seen some players, girls especially, playing some tennis. Okay, I've seen that happen. Outside practicing there is not really getting into what you call a game situation there. And, you know, I think the groundskeeper and the players and the people that you've talked to are really realistic about the ground, you know, that is hard, it's cold. It takes some time to get that warmed up to absorb any kind of rain or any type of moisture to go into the ground because it's going to stand up like a haircut that hasn't been cut. So it's really hard for anybody to get out here and deal with any kind of good practice. And, you know, high schools don't have these big domes or whatever it may be that you go on in there and practice and run and hit fly balls and all that. At best, they'll go in a gym or something simulate some positions, some game ordinaires and whatnot there. And it's not like the ball hitting the ground or hitting the grass or doing some things. The best thing they can do right now is maybe be inside and getting in shape and, getting their wind in order there. But again, when you hit out this cold weather, that takes all of that away, for a player to breathe, a player to have extra clothes on there when, normally when you're playing baseball, you're going to dress at comfort here. And right now, I see about 2 weeks, the first week of May or something, maybe when the high schools get started. You'll get a lot of double headers if you're umpire, especially you there. Your richest part of your life will probably be in May and early June.
It's going to be a short season, but we are definitely ready for it. Butch, before we get to our roundtable, is there anything else you wanted to bring up as far as the regional portion of this show, as far as Detroit sports or sports in general?
Well, we didn't talk about the Lions per se there. They have made some move. Matt Castle is now a Detroit Lions. As of officially this morning when he took his physical and all, we had reports on that particular last week, but he didn't make it into town till Sunday to get his physical all. T.J. Jones' contract was today. They re-signed him. He was a restricted free agent. They did sign him. They didn't, of course, report the money that they're paying him. But, however, T.J. Jones should be back in uniform with the Detroit Lions so far, for that matter. And today was the opening of the official I Want to Get in Shape, as they offered the players to come on in. And if you're a new coach, and this is a rule in the NFL, if you're a new coach, you can open your camp up way early. And the Lions took advantage of that particular new rule as they invited veterans as well as rookies not so many. If they're free agent rookies, per se, they sign, they can do that. But again, the draft hasn't come there. We got a couple more weeks to go for that. But again, the doors are open at the Lions Combine for these players to come on in and start getting in shape. That'll go on for about 2 weeks until they have some official, the rookie camp and the OTAs, I should say here.
The Lions will have the 20th pick in this year's draft, Butch, which will be held at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, starting on Thursday, April 26th. Well, Butch just got word from E.J. Russell, who usually joins us on the Team Wireless Hot Seat, that due to his full-time job activities, he won't be able to join us tonight. So, hey, it's just you and me, my friend. Are you ready to go?
I guess we'll be clowning all night here.
Sounds good to me, Butch. Well, I'm going to give you first topic as far as things you want to bring up to the round table involving you and I. We'll go here for about 30 minutes or so. So what would you like to bring up to tonight's round table, Mr. Butch Davis?
Well, let's put you on a hot spot right now here, okay? And we want to talk about the terrible accident in Saskatchewan, Humboldt, Saskatchewan, there with that particular team there. Tragedy indeed. We just found out today that one of the identifications of the players were missed and that they thought the player had deceased. And the player, and I don't have his name according yet here, okay, but that was reported that player did survive and in hospital, okay. But just to get your whiff on that particular, how devastating that has been, I have been through that before in Oregon here when an accident occurred with a bus going off the road, and eventually a whole city, if not the whole state, really went heads over heels to make families feel comfortable and at ease there. It is nothing second to livelihood itself when that kind of tragedy happened, okay, and the way it happened there, I guess you get a lot of many kind of whiffs on what should have been done, what could have been done, but again, what's been done has been done. Your comments on it, and I'm quite sure you could take the rest of the whole hour to give it that, so I'll let you have at it right now here.
Thank you, Butch, and for bringing this up. I did talk about it in the first segment on the show, but talking about what happened today, just a cruel twist to what's just been an awful story. The Saskatchewan Justice Ministry confirmed that the coroner made a mistake in identifying one of the victims, as CBC reported today that Xavier LaBelle is alive, one of the players there who they first assumed was deceased, and Parker Tobin, previously misidentified, who and believed to have survived, is dead. And you feel for the families and the entire community and the entire hockey community, Butch. And that's one of the things I mentioned earlier on the show as far as, hockey. They say the hockey family a lot. You hear that from time to time. Well, you hear that all the time if you follow the world of hockey. But, these youngsters ages 16 to 20, some 21, in hockey, it's different than any other sport. You don't have basketball players normally. I mean, I'm sure there are some that go to a new community and, be taken in by a billet family. You saw one of the parents there in Humboldt, or one of the billet parents, saying he lost 3 sons. I mean, these were guys that has been living with him and his wife since, probably August, when the teams, got up there, and you build those tight-knit bonds, being in the hockey profession, being around that. You played hockey, I played hockey growing up there. I don't have a whole lot of bus stories, but the long bus trips, the camaraderie, watching movies on the bus, those sort of things is unique, I think, to hockey. Other sports do it. I'm not saying they don't, but I think the bonds for the hockey players and such, and you're seeing a lot of, obviously, over the last few days, if you watch the news, it's been heartbreaking to see some of the things that have gone on. What I'd like to do, Butch, is here just give a little brief mention of the 15 individuals who passed away, because I think it's important that our listeners, know a little bit of their story, and hopefully they can be remembered. The youngest member of the team, 16-year-old Adam Harold. He was from Montmartre, Saskatchewan. The youngest member of the team to die. He was raised on a farm, a hunter, and a snowmobiler. Connor Lucan from Slave Lake, Alberta. He lived with the family of Kevin Geringer, the Humboldt Broncos president. Evan Thomas, 18 years old, from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, the son of Scott Thomas, president of the Saskatoon Blazers hockey team, who play in the Western Hockey League. He also played baseball at a national level. His family said that he was considering becoming an orthopedic surgeon. Jacob Lett, 19 years old, from Humboldt, Saskatchewan, the only player from the town to die in the collision. He played left wing for the team. Jackson Joseph, 20 years old, Edmonton, Alberta, joined the team in a trade earlier this year and was the son of Chris Joseph, who played 7 years in the National Hockey League. Logan Boulay, 21 years old, from Lethbridge, Alberta, playing in his 3rd season for the Broncos. He had just signed up to be an organ donor, and 6 of his organs were transplanted or prepared for transplants. 18-year-old Logan Hunter from St. Albert, Alberta, played right wing for the team. 20-year-old Logan Schatz, 20 years old, from Allen, Saskatchewan. He was the captain of the Broncos and the second highest scorer in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, recently recovering from an injury. Stephen Wack, 21 years old, from St. Albert, Alberta. So 2 players from that town in Alberta perishing in this awful tragedy. His junior hockey career was coming to an end as he was planning a career in video production and had posted several videos on YouTube. Parker Tobin, another player that deceased in this awful accident. And team personnel, wasn't just players, but it was others. 18-year-old Brody Hintz from Humboldt, Saskatchewan, volunteered as the team's statistician, was about to finish high school, and had began planning a career in broadcasting. 42-year-old Darcy Haugen from Humboldt, Saskatchewan, was hired as the Broncos head coach in 2015. Originally from Peace River, Alberta, studied at Northern Michigan University, played hockey there. As a matter of fact, he played hockey with Sault Ste. Marie native and Laker assistant coach Rich Mitro back in the 96-97 season. He was on a hockey scholarship at Northern and briefly played professionally in Sweden. The bus driver, and that's one of the things I wanted to end with here, Butch, before we talk about some of the people that perished. 59-year-old Glenn Dorkson from Carrot River, Saskatchewan, the team's bus driver. He had officiated and sat on the board of his local junior B hockey team, the Carrot River Thunder. 27-year-old Mark Cross from Strattsburg, Saskatchewan, the team's assistant coach, studied kinesiology at York University in Toronto and played on its hockey team before returning to Saskatchewan. And the play-by-play radio broadcaster, 29-year-old Tyler Bieber from Humboldt, Saskatchewan, also perished. So 15 individuals lost their lives all too early, and you got to give a lot of credit to the hockey community, the country of Canada, and really the whole world that has really rallied around this awful situation. Was talking about it earlier, Butch. Over $4 million has been raised. One of the good things, in my opinion, on social media to assist the families, the community, and such. You saw the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, there. Lots of professional hockey players. Ron McLean, Don Cherry, lots of individuals going there. And if you watched Hockey Night in Canada Saturday, you heard some heartfelt emotions felt by Mike Babcock, head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, who grew up in Saskatchewan. And, being here, Butch, we have a lot of players from Saskatchewan that have played in the college hockey for the Lake Superior State University Lakers. And just wanted to end with this, Butch, as far as, this whole situation. It was an awful tragedy, and car accidents and these types of accidents happen each and every day. And one of the things I wanted to mention, and one of the things I don't think I've ever mentioned on this show, and you don't hear a lot of, is the men and women that do the driving of the bus for these teams. And you're talking about some tough places to drive. Here in northern Michigan, we have whiteout conditions. We had our junior hockey team, the Sioux Indians, involved in a minor accident this year down in a snowstorm downstate. And, you got to give these individuals a lot of credit for putting their lives on the line and, to protect these youngsters, 16 to 20 years old, or any teams, college teams, pro teams even, that have to take the buses. It's a tough gig, and when you look in the want ad, you see a lot of people wanting and needing bus drivers, and I don't think those individuals get the credit they deserve, so I just want to say that. And finally, Butch, I'll end with this, and when these situations happen, it puts a lot of things in perspective, and people get very introspective and all that. And I just wanted to say, if there's somebody in your family or maybe somebody that you haven't talked to in a long time, a situation like this happens, puts everything else in perspective. We got a lot of problems in this country. We got a lot of things to complain about. You know what? Reach out to someone. Reach out to a loved one maybe you haven't talked to for a while, because life's too short. You just never know when something might happen. So that's me, Butch, about as long-winded as I get. I know you have a lot to say. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, you said a lot of things that very much so true. And I played hockey, but I lived on the outskirts of Detroit, Michigan. I lived closer to the suburbs in cities such as Lincoln Park, Allen Park, Melvindale, Trenton, Wyandotte. These are cities that River Rouge is another one, Ecorse. In Detroit, one of your only places you could really play hockey was two places, and that was Clark Park and, of course, the Jack Adams Arena there. When you're a peewee, it's very easy to enlist at the Jack Adams Arena to play hockey back then. In the days, that's when the place was just built. But then when you get older, now you got to catch on with teams that basically you don't have nothing in your city, nowhere in your community to play hockey, because everyone is fascinated by baseball, football, and other sports there. Me, oddball that I am, I loved hockey from day one. And so these cities like Melvindale, who I played for, out there in Trenton, where I played hockey at there, most of the time when you played for these particular teams, you got to go in the community to live there, okay? Because there's an inconvenience for them to come way out to pick you up or whatever it may be. So you find yourself on long weekends, like on a Thursday, staying with the families or someone adopting you, okay, in order for you to be able to make your hockey matches. And you get home late, maybe Sunday night, early Monday morning, to be dropped off at your home and immediately get ready for school, which majority of my life, I was very fortunate. My parents did not put me in public school. They put me in private school. It's a battle. Hockey is to me, the most embracing sport of all the sports out there. That and soccer, okay?
I agree.
And I say that I say that religiously because I go in the locker rooms of the Red Wings and other locker rooms with the NFL. Only sport you see where the players go out there and mainly go out here and shake hands. Now, we're taught in baseball and football in the early age and basketball in the early age. After the game, you go shake hands. All that's missed when you get in high school, when you get in, well, maybe in high school you see it now, okay? But in college and in the pros, you don't kind of see that where that eventually everybody get in line and slap hands and whatever it may be. I watched the Deans retire the other night, okay? I watched that game very well where players in Edmonton, they lined it up to shake these guys' hand. You don't see that too much often anymore where you embrace it and embrace a sport, because the first day can be your last. And, nothing's promised in this world. Nothing as promised. My mother used to say, you don't miss your water till your well runs dry.
Like it.
And sometimes we lose factors on the important portion of playing sports is the embracement of people, the people that you meet, the friends that you make. Most of them on the other side of the team, okay, where you end up meeting someone. And later on in life, well, you meet them again in some place that you would never think or never know. And then embrace that time you had as a kid, okay? And then you get together and say, well, this is going on in my neighborhood, or this is going on in my, and you both get together, or you get a group together and bring things whole in the communities that you serve. We need a lot more of that. And I applaud Hockey Night in Canada. I applaud the people in Canada, period, in embracing this community there, such as we embrace some are Americans and some of the tragedies that happen here. My thing is this, we got to stop waiting on tragedies to happen, okay? And that's why sometimes I embrace those kids 2 weeks ago who walked to Washington, D.C. And for something that is basically a no-brainer, but it's not a no-brainer that, that lives can be taken away just at an instant when you don't think of it there. I think too much of that has been happening, and I applaud those kids. I applaud our younger generation now who just bring it out the wet wash, who's doing things the right way in order to embrace each other. And hopefully that makes a better kind of scenario for all of us going down the road a piece there. We have too long done a whole heck of a lot of talking and absolutely done nothing to show friendship toward each other. And, it's just like you and I here. We didn't know each other from Adam's house cat here,
Right.
The incident that brought us together and, and brought talents together. And here we are 2 years later.
Look where we are now.
Right, and I was just reminded by Potomatic here. This is our second year of doing this stuff here, man. And,
Wow.
And dang, I said, wow, this is flying really hard. But look at the accomplishments we have made and the things that have been done and the people who are talking now and the influences that we're bringing to our audiences and whatnot there. And maybe if we could touch that in a situation such as we're touching on our radio shows and whatnot here, hey, we're happy. We're very happy, But again, sometimes we say our work is not done, okay? Maybe some subject we need to touch on a lot more and it'll be a lot more stand down to it. But again, we'll get it. We'll get it right. And hopefully, again, let's do like, again, the theme of this particular conversation is. Let's embrace each other a lot better than what we have done in the past.
Well said, Butch. And once again, our thoughts and prayers here from the game to all the families and everyone affected by that awful tragedy in Saskatchewan. Butch, let's keep it going here on the round table. I will bring up this topic, and I know you are chomping at the bit to talk about this one. It is Wrestlemania, Wrestlemania 33. which took place last night in New Orleans, a very, very long Wrestlemania. And I'm just going to go through the results, Butch, and then I want your thoughts overall on what you saw, maybe some surprises, and there were quite a few surprises in my opinion. It all started with the kickoff show as Matt Hardy won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal with the help of Bray Wyatt. Cedric Alexander beat Mustafa Ali to become the new Cruiserweight champion. And also on the kickoff show, Naomi won the Women's Battle Royal. And the big show started with Seth Rollins winning the Intercontinental Championship over The Miz and Finn Balor. Charlotte beat Asuka. The streak is over, 256-1. Asuka now as Charlotte beats her to remain Women's SmackDown Champion. Jinder Mahal beats Randy Orton, Bobby Roode, and Rusev to become the new U.S. Champion. Ronda Rousey, Kurt Angle beating Triple H and Stephanie McMahon in that mixed tag team. The Bludgeon Brothers, the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions, as they defeated the Usos and the New Day. Undertaker did come back and beat John Cena. Daniel Bryan in his first action in quite some time, and Shane McMahon defeated Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Nia Jax beats Alexa Bliss to become a new Raw Women's Champion. AJ Styles beats Shinsuke Nakamura to retain the WWE Championship. Braun Strowman and Nicholas, we'll talk about that I'm sure as we go along, beat Sheamus and Cesaro to become a new Tag Team Champions. And the big one, the main event at least, I don't think it was the best match of the night, but Brock Lesnar, in a bit of a surprise, beat Roman Reigns to retain the WWE Universal Championship. Butch, we're about 45 minutes or so away from tonight's Raw, which might explain some of these matches and the new storylines that are being built. But I want your thoughts on WrestleMania in general and maybe some of the matches that you saw. What did you think?
Well, for 7 hours, boys and girls, and that's how long this thing was. It started off at 5 o'clock. We at 12:04 or a little 12:05, I think it was all over here. The matches surprised me in a way. I enjoyed them. They were some good matches, and there were some bad ones too. I quite say I think the last one was the worst of the night.
I agree.
For what I mean, Roman Reigns took a Jim Ross slobber knocking here, and that was no joke. I expected more out of that than ever before, but again, maybe it's something more to this particular line than I think people look into. That these are two gentlemen who do not like one another, who do detest one another, and Brock Lesnar showed that he's the man right now here. On whatever avenue you put him on, he can beat up Roman Reigns, because Roman Reigns had absolutely nothing to give in that particular match. I say the Oscar match and the Charlotte Flair match was very good, very constructed, very well. The Miz match, the Fatal 4-Way, that was a very good match indeed. I enjoyed that. The Nakamura and Styles match was pretty well put together there, especially at the end when Nakamura said, "Forget you too," and showed that how much he really cared. And we're gonna see fallouts on that bad boy, I'm sure, tomorrow night if they don't do it tonight. I don't know here. The Oscar thing was very surprising, of the hugs and whatever it may be, and how gracious that matches went. But that was a doggone good match. The women's matches were very surprising there. Alexa Bliss and the young lady there, that was a well-deserved match as well. Wasn't as good as the Oscar Flair match there. However, the right fixing for that ending was right and deal. This is a young lady who's been teased. A lot of people probably will look at her as not being the ideal person to bring at home to see mother and dad, but as far as a person, the nicest person that you will ever meet, and I've had that opportunity to meet the lady, we compliment each other's eyes because we got the same color, but this is a beautiful person. And she's going to do a whole heck of a lot, as well as Alexa Bliss, by the way, on eating disorder. This lady's going to do a whole heck of a lot on people who get teased on the outskirts that they're not that hourglass type of symbol kind of person there, that you can be anybody and you should love yourself, who you are and how you are. And I think the WWE is going to run with that particular there. The John Cena doo-wop. That was very, very encouraging indeed here to see that happen. The way they did it with Elias coming out there.
That was great, wasn't it?
Yeah, just got sick of him and threw him out in the street. Like he got thrown out of a bar.
Right.
That was something that we all can relate to. Then the Undertaker comes out there and whips his rear into a no-not-one and gets his just due. I don't think the Undertaker's going to be back anyway, so I think that's the end of the Undertaker, because the way the actual match went, it really wasn't what you call a battle,
No.
kind of situation there, but it made the Undertaker look good. That was the first loss he ever took was in New Orleans. He wouldn't take another beating in New Orleans to come back there and do that. And that's probably was the agreement when he came back to do that particular match. But it was very fitting that happened. Now the young man here, what's his name again? The young kid with
Nicholas.
Nicholas, yes, Nicholas Cone, okay? Nicholas Cone, the son of one of the officials of the WWE that we found out today.
Today. It wasn't just a random kid picked.
No, it was not random at all here, the kid sat where the dad got a ticket at here, and they found him, redid that. Very well done by Braun Strowman to make it look so officially unreal here, until this morning when we got the real FYI on the whole situation. But again, it would have been righteous to me if he really did pick a kid who had no idea at all of that going on. Apparently this kid, how reluctant he was to go in there with him, had, it was pre-done. And I guess that soured the whole situation for me in general. But again, the idea was grand. I just thought that they could have gotten someone or some kid to go out there who did not have any connection with the WWE at all to embrace that particular situation. Just imagine that kid going to school with a belt here. How many bullies will be after him?
That's right.
I'm telling you right now, he's not going to have friends. Not too many. Maybe a day or two here, but by golly, in a week's time here, they're going to really go after him like a hog. Somebody's going to rob his house too and try to take that belt here.
You're right.
I'm saying all the wrong things that basically right now shouldn't happen to a child in his family here. But, when you bring out all that truth and stuff, truth and dare here, it was pretty wicked at all. But all in all, I have to give WrestleMania, I have to give it a B-, okay? B- because I've seen better, but this wasn't the worst thing that they could have put out as far as the product is concerned.
Yeah, I was on with Paul Van Wagner earlier today, Butch, on The Drive, which you can find on the podcast page, thegamesportshow.podbean.com, and we talked about WrestleMania. He also gave it a B-. I gave it a B. Looking at the matches, I'm not going to talk about the pre-show matches there. Nothing really that really jumped out of the page there. Seth Rollins winning the match against The Miz and Finn Balor. I thought that was the second best match of the night. They're three good performers, and I think that's one of the things the WWE universe. A lot of people complain about those type of performers that don't get the big hype like the big guys do, like the Roman Reigns or the Brock Lesnar's and such. Thought that was a really good way to start the show. Charlotte Asuka, to me, was the best match of the night. I really thought that one was good. Charlotte coming out and taking on Asuka. I mean, I think we are not too far away, and I'm saying that we're maybe a year away from a potential women's main event featuring Charlotte. And someone else which we'll talk about here in a moment. Jinder Mahal beating Randy Orton, that one, not a lot there. Kind of upset that Rusev didn't get the belt in that one, but you know what? You got to have some heels get it as well. I thought Ronda Rousey did fantastic in the ring. This is somebody that has a lot of pressure on her, and I thought that match was very well done as far as mixed tag teams, which have had some mixed results, no pun intended, as far as if these matches have worked or not. I thought this worked well. I mean, Stephanie McMahon, who really isn't a wrestler by trade, I thought she sold it well, and Triple H and Kurt Angle did well there. But I was really impressed with Ronda Rousey. Obviously, her biggest stumbling block will be her mic skills, which right now aren't very good. I'd love to see somebody like Paul Heyman get involved with Ronda Rousey, but then you'd have to turn Rousey into a heel or Heyman into a face, which, who knows on that one. The Bludgeon Brothers, they kind of knew they were going to get that one there. Usos and New Day, I'm sure you're going to see one of those tag teams move to Raw, and you're going to see some shuffling going on here, probably starting tonight. The Undertaker and Cena, Butch, I totally agree with what you said, but you got to give a lot of credit to John Cena. This is somebody that doesn't need the WWE. And he certainly doesn't need to be portraying the character that he is now. I mean, and just selling it with The Undertaker. I give a lot of kudos to John Cena in that match. Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon, just good to see Daniel Bryan back in the ring after all those injuries. And, well, Shane McMahon, he's actually dealing with some injuries as well. Thought that was a decent match there. Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss, two great characters, and really nice to see Nia Jax get that title. No surprise there. AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura. I think there was a lot of build-up for this match. I thought it was a good match. I didn't think it was a great match, but I thought it was a good match. Two very good performers, and we'll see how Nakamura is turning heel. Braun Strowman and Nicholas, I mean, a little ridiculous, a little far-fetched. I like Braun Strowman, though. And then the main event, Butch, you said it. It was the worst match of the night. I mean, they've been building this match since last WrestleMania. I was surprised, though, that Brock Lesnar did win. I'm sure we're going to see something more on that. There were reports I saw today that Brock Lesnar may have signed a new deal with WWE. We will just have to find out, because tonight, Butch, it's the Raw after WrestleMania, and that's always a very lively affair. As a matter of fact, that's probably my favorite Raw of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is, and it's always some trading going on. We haven't talked about Kevin Owens and Fred here, which will probably be now on Raw, being that they got fired from SmackDown there. So you expect to see them tonight here, crawling into the place and raising havoc there. That's going to be something to especially see. I'm really waiting for is Asuka's going to go over to SmackDown. I'm expecting Asuka to go to SmackDown. I'm expecting that they're going to have a women's championship match with the two brands there, maybe as quick as maybe SummerSlam here, which would be somewhat encouraging. But again, who's going to be the two leads on that particular one? Because you're expecting to see some changes being made with both of those lineups there, especially on Raw, going to some of the women going on SmackDown. I was very impressed, though, with the NXT situation there. On Saturday, I saw some doggone good matches there. I don't want to leave that out. It's probably the weekend of WrestleMania. And I was very impressed with the women from the NXT who took part in the the women's battle royal there. There's 7 of them that took part in there, and they all had a significant role in what they played in that one, and especially the one with the long hair, using their hair as a whip here,
Yeah. I can't do that.
No, I don't think none of us can here, but we just found out it can be done, okay? And she did it pretty well here, man. And the little Japanese young lady who dressed up as a pirate, okay?
It's good stuff.
And right now, Vince McMahon and company is building these women's matches up a lot more. We're going to see another glow in here pretty soon there, as per their Hall of Fame person that they put in place in their ivory, okay? I think it's time for the WWE to put some shine on women wrestlers there. And don't be surprised if they don't make up a Glow type of series where the women have their own show and feature some of those particular matches that we used to enjoy on Glow, okay? So they know where their bacon is going to be bit, just the same as that 50-man battle royal that's going to be taken into Saudi Arabia. And, of course, who won the United States Championship has a lot to do with that particular going to be on there, the WWE. I think it's the 23rd or something there.
Correct, yep.
Okay, which you'll be able to see on the WWE Network that was announced, okay? And the next show going to be on the 6th. So you paid your bill on the 7th, like I did, okay? You'll get that match, okay?
Got a good deal.
So, hey, WrestleMania, it gave what we wanted to see, okay? It gave us a night of wrestling that uninterrupted by commercials and all. And like I said, I give it a B-, but for $9.99, you can't go wrong.
Really can't, Butch. And real quick here, main event, WrestleMania 35, Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair. What do you think?
Oh, boy. If someone else from the net don't come out and fully, like I said, it's a lot of women right now that are pumping up in the WWE. And again, the NXT situation is the best thing they got going right now, with a lot of the better matches, okay? And we haven't called a heck of a lot of those particular women who's going to be climbing from that NXT version there to join up the main roster there. Again, if you watch Saturday's events being taken place on NXT, the takeover show, you're really gonna get a big worm of some things going on here.
Butch, let's get to our thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, as we just have about 5 minutes left in the show. I will start thumbs up and thumbs down on the same subject. Thumbs down, obviously, goes to the tragedy that happened in Saskatchewan over the weekend, which we have talked long about. But I'm also giving a thumbs up as far as the response to that event and the hockey community, the entire world really coming together and helping those in need right now, because there's a lot. And I had a chance to watch a little bit of the vigil, if you will, that they had in the home arena of the Humboldt Broncos. And just, I mean, as a human being, it's devastating. As somebody that follows and has played hockey, it's devastating. As a parent, it's devastating. I mean, just all these things that you see and feel for this community. And this happens every day in communities around the country. And so, like Butch said, like I said, take a little time and reach out to somebody. We need a little more niceness in this world rather than all the nastiness that unfortunately gets reported as far as things you see on the news, things you see online and such. And a thumbs up also goes to our Masters champion, Patrick Reed. A lot of people aren't a big fan of this guy, but he did a good job yesterday in winning the Masters. He had a 1-under par 71, edging out Ricky Fowler by 1 shot and Jordan Spieth by 2. So congratulations to that. Had a lot of chance to watch the Masters there yesterday, Butch. We don't talk a lot about golf, but for the big ones we do. Masters always been my favorite one. It's the same holes, same time of year, same location. Always good stuff. Your thumbs up and thumbs down, Mr. Butch Davis, for the week.
Oh, boy, thumbs down will go to Major League Baseball and their early cycleness of stupidity, second to none. I've never seen so many games be blown out or players being forced to play in the snow, the sleet, the rain, the hail, and etc. there. But, that's not baseball at its finest. The scheduling is just unpure, okay? When you have 2 Texas teams going against each other, 4 West Coast teams going against another, you got 2 Florida teams going against one another, and some of those northern teams that you could have broke bread and had them spaced out. and had a better doggone kind of a reception of baseball there. Major League Baseball needs to take a second look at what they're doing to ruin the sport. Thumbs up. Oh, boy. It's those people in Calgary and also Canada in general to embrace their city the way they have done in order to make those people feel as comfortable as they possibly be. But again, it doesn't stop there with a memorial service. It goes by right now saying that, we got to be fortunate enough to treat every day as something special. And hopefully these people, the people and the country of Canada, along with American citizens who looked at this as a huge tragedy, okay, as many tragedies that we have seen so far this year, and we haven't even got 4 months in yet here. It's just totally unreal here. So let's give our thumbs up to everyone who embraced this particular day so life can be a lot better for all of us there. Again, you never miss your water till your well runs dry.
Well said, Butch. And before we go, just want to remind everyone that we will have more editions of the game involving our good friend Dave McKeag, who couldn't be with us tonight. He has a couple shows this week, Wednesday night from Sports Center Bar and Grill in Sioux, Ontario, Thursday night from Boston Pizza in Sioux, Ontario. Butch will also have his show, Butch on Sports, on the podcast page, thegamesportshow.podbean.com. Butch, before we let you go, what do you have in store this week for Butch on Sports?
Whoopee. We're going to look at the NBA and the Rookie of the Year here, and we're going to make comparisons on why the Rookie of the Year has been negated to a no, not one. Why? Because of television, okay? We got two participants right now who basically are the forefront runners, and we allow television to somewhat steer our minds in what this Rookie of the year means so much. Not the most valuable player, because if it was, one of those rookies would be exceptional for that particular drive. There's not so much the person who you think is going to get most valuable player, but one of those rookies should be sitting up top. Now, I'll say Mr. Mitchell should be dead up there on the most valuable player. He has meant so much for the Utah Jazz this year. It's sick, okay? And if people didn't get to see this guy here, it rarely so is something very special there. So those are my deals on Butch on Sports this week there. And plus, hopefully we get some high school stuff going on in so we can talk about some high school stuff there.
We're certainly hoping so, Butch. I want to thank you for joining us once again. Have a great rest of your week, and we will talk to you on Tuesday. We're scheduled for Tuesday, Butch, but my guess is that my game on Monday will be canceled, so we'll probably be doing this show from the Wicked Sister next Monday. Either way, we'll talk to you next week, my friend.
Either or, I'll be there.
All right, that's going to do it here for the game on this Monday night. I want to thank each and every one of you for listening, and we'll be back with you next week for another edition of the game here on Eagle 95.1.